So in digital art, there's many different ways to combine shapes, and the common term that you'll often hear is a Boolean operation. So the idea behind a Boolean operation, which is common in computer programming, is that it's a type of data that's either true or false. But inside a digital art application, it kind of plays the same role where you could say you're either turning something on or off. So you're showing something or you're hiding something. And a lot of programs have a way to combine shapes where you're either using one shape to hide another shape, or you're using one shape to reveal something, or you're combining the overlapping parts of a shape to create some sort of intersection. So, for example, if I go here and I create a new layer, that's one selection that I just created on that layer using the marquee select tool, and I can fill that with my foreground color, which is red. So I'll hit Option Delete, fill it with red. Now let's say I want to eat into that shape somehow and create something a little bit more abstract. So what you can do is, on a Mac you can hit Option, on a PC you hit Alt, and with the marquee tool you can drag over a shape to cut into it, and you'll see that your cursor will have like a little negative symbol. So I can cut into that shape, and I just took away something. So that is one of the Boolean type of operations in Photoshop. You can add to a shape by hitting the Shift key. So if I click and drag, I can add to it. And then you can create the intersection by hitting Shift and Option. On a PC it's Shift and Alt. So the intersection is going to create the overlapping parts. When I drag one selection over, it's going to intersect with that other shape. And you can combine these with other types of marquee selections. So I have a elliptical selection too. So if I hit Shift, I can add to that and add more shapes to create something more abstract, and then fill that. So these operations, using these shortcuts, are ways to create more elaborate shapes. In other programs they exist, they may work a little differently. Illustrator has something called a Pathfinder Palette that lets you combine shapes in a similar way. If you look up in Photoshop, the command that you use last will often be highlighted. So if I hit Shift and drag to add something, you can see it's highlighting that second icon. So these two overlapping icons are adding. The one where you have like a hollow square over a solid square, that's subtracting, and the one where it overlaps, that's the intersection. So that's where you can manually set these. The first one, you're using the Shift command to add. The second one, you're using Option or Alt on a PC to take away. And the third one up here, you're using Shift and Option or Shift and Alt together to do an intersection. And that's where you can find Boolean operations. And if you want to, then once you create a shape like this, you can Option click on the layer. I'm sorry, you can Command click on the layer to create a selection around it. And then you can go into your Pathfinder palette and select paths. So my paths are right here. You click this icon next to the mask icon. It will turn your selection into a vector path, and then you can go to Edit and define custom shape, and then hit OK, and now you have a custom shape built from those selections. So that's a way to create elaborate, more complex shapes using these Boolean type of operations, where you're using a selection and adding, subtracting, or doing an overlap to create the new shapes.